The white attorney for the three white men on trial for killing Ahmaud Arbery, he continues to white. That's what he's doing. Today, he actually, y'all, they tried to actually get the judge to declare a mistrial. Not because something the prosecution was doing, not some jury misconduct, because Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. was sitting in the courtroom. Watch this mess.
We need to move for mistrial.
I move for mistrial.
Based on?
Based on the presence of people in the courtroom and the public gallery.
Your Honor, I have to stop for one moment. We have a witness now on the stand.
If you go ahead and sit down, thank you.
Thank you.
And I do actually very much appreciate the court helping me maintain a record on this. We formally moved for a mistrial under the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution, parallel provisions of the Constitution of the state of Georgia. We contend that the atmosphere of the trial, both inside and outside the courtroom, at this point has deprived Mr. Bryan of his right to a fair trial. I understand that co-counsel vehemently disagree on some aspects of that motion, and if they don't want to join, that's their business. But I represent Mr. Bryan, and my concern, Your Honor, notwithstanding what in my observation would be extraordinary efforts on the part of the court to avoid anything that would interfere with the right of these defendants to a fair trial. At the same time, in extraordinary cases like this, additional steps have to be taken. We have not secured the front of this courthouse. The Transformative Justice Coalition still flies their banner virtually every day outside in what should be protected grounds. Your Honor, we have had numerous instances during several instances during jury selection of nonverbal communications between the victim's family and jurors, or from juror to the victim's family. We've had several emotional outbursts during the trial of this case, notwithstanding the substantial efforts of the court to ensure that they don't take place. And we have had civil rights icons sitting in here in what the civil rights community contends is a quote-unquote test case for civil rights in the United States. Eyeballing these jurors, including one today with his mask down, which the court doesn't want to make part of the record. Under Supreme... I rephrased that. Didn't make part of the record.
Thank you.
Yeah, I rephrased.
You made it part of the record.
Well, until the court acknowledges it, it's not part of the record.
Keep going, Mr. Coffey.
Your Honor, the case law out there in mob cases and other cases demonstrates all the ways that presence in a gallery can influence jurors in a case. And I certainly don't mean to suggest that Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or any other pastor belong to a mob, but at the same time, we are talking about organized behavior by whoever outside the courthouse leading up to this case, where we have all these community leaders fearful that the city's going to burn down. This isn't a mob case. If you testify against a gangster, they might burn your house down. They might burn your business down. They're not going to burn your whole city down. And that is the concern that I believe jurors have expressed during the voir dire process, in that a county commissioner, a mayor, school board member, a bunch of pastors in this community, both black and white, have been talking about. So in that context, we believe the totality of the circumstances, which is what this court looks at under Shepard v. Maxwell, under the totality of circumstances, this trial has been sufficiently infected, notwithstanding the best efforts of the court, to the point where Mr. Bryan's ability to receive a fair trial has become an open question. We think that line's been crossed. The court may see it differently, but we've made that for purposes of the record.
All right, it's in this court's discretion with regard to any outburst in the courtroom, taken into consideration, as well as the defendant's motion for a mistrial. So I cite to a couple cases. Let's see, Forney, I think it's Forney versus State, 255 Georgia, 316, which actually recognizes that emotions are neither unreasonable nor unexpected during a murder trial. and the demonstrations and outbursts which occurred during the course of the trial are matters within the court's discretion to evaluate. The court heard exactly what I described on the record, decided to remove the jury briefly, and it was ready to get started. Based on that outburst, the court is not granting a mistrial. As to the totality of the circumstances argument, which I think is the second argument that was presented by Mr. Goff, that gets back to what I'm starting to watch very carefully as far as what's going on in this courtroom with the jury, as well as the arguments that are being made by counsel. I'll point out that a number of times during jury selection, it was raised that jurors were being influenced by individuals outside the court. And I think it was either 4 or 5 jurors were asked specifically whether or not they were influenced in some way by what was going on outside the courtroom. And they were not. There was no, actually, if I remember correctly, they didn't even recognize or see what was going on outside the courtroom. And as counsel are aware, because I have briefed counsel, there are steps being taken by the court during the jury trial to ensure that jurors are not influenced by anything happening around the courthouse. So then we start getting into what we have now with individual members or individuals coming into the courtroom. I will say that is directly in response, Mr. Goff, to statements you made, which I find reprehensible. The Colonel Sanders statement you made last week, I would suggest may be something that has influenced what is going on here. In response to that, and to his credit, Mr. Sheffield made some comments, but did say, come one, come all. And so now the court is faced with balancing a lot of things going on outside this courtroom and doing it in a way that respects members of the public's right to be in the courtroom, as well as what I'm trying to put out there is a fair trial, right? So you need to understand, everybody, that your words in this courtroom have an impact on a lot of what's going on. And so my measured response at this point is to balance all of that out and try to move forward with the trial. I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on these arguments that are being made, because I think, well, I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on the arguments that have been made.
So the white attorney caused the whole uproar, and he's not complaining about the uproar. Joining us now is one of the attorneys for the Arbery family, Lee Merritt. Lee, this is beyond laughable to listen to this man, and he made some other comments where, well, Reverend Jackson, he doesn't, why does the Arbery family need him praying with them? They've got local pastors who can pray with him. And then for him to drop in here, oh, people are afraid they're going to burn the town down. It's going to be riot. This white attorney is throwing out every racist thought, every racist thing he can think of in order to get these racists off for killing Ahmaud Arbery.
No, that's exactly it. On the one hand, they're arguing that Wanda should be strong enough to sort of deal with seeing the grisly details of her son's murder by herself, without making any outbursts. Because a part of the motion to dismiss the trial, of a motion for a mistrial today, included the fact that she let out a slight whimper when a picture of Ahmaud was introduced into evidence. And so, while she's dealing with this very difficult thing, they're saying that she not only does she have to deal with it quietly, she should also have to deal with it alone, and without the support of our full community. It's beyond. It used to be cute, it's no longer cute. This person is harassing a grieving mother during the murder trial of her son.
Well, and the thing that's just crazy to me is, well, why can't she get a local pastor to pray with her? Why does she need Reverend Jackson? Okay, he was eyeballing a juror.
Right, eyeballing a jury, nonverbal communications being alleged.
Okay, so the jury walks in. If the jury walks in that way, is Reverend supposed to do this here? Turn away and don't look at the jury?
And if you really look at the breakdown of the courtroom, there are 3 rows reserved for the 3 defendants and their family. Wanda's role is in the very back of the courtroom. So she occupies the last row with Marcus Arbery, Ahmaud's dad. And they each get one person to come in the courtroom with them. Typically, it's one of the attorneys in the case so that we gather all the evidence for the federal suit. And then there's a pastor who's helping them with the grieving process. But in front of them is the mother of the men who murdered her son, is the wives, the children. And then directly in front of them is of course, defense table with Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, Roddy Bryan sitting there, the men who actually murdered her son, just feet away from her. And she's supposed to deal with all of this with no support and no noise.
Well, I don't know what his attorney thinks, but guess what? He's about to see a whole bunch of black preachers and black people on Thursday at 11 a.m. We are going to be in Brunswick, Georgia as well, live streaming that news conference. They're expecting a minimum of 100 black preachers. I'm hearing it could be as high as 200 or 300 who show up in Brunswick, Georgia as a major show of force. And so if this judge wanted to see some black preachers, he's about to get his wish.
And Roland, I've been speaking to Al about that. There are 200 confirmed pastors coming so far, and we expect that number to grow. We just want to emphasize, as people come to the city of Brunswick, we encourage you to come stand with this family. Just know this is a solemn gathering. The media will be asking a lot of questions, and they're going to be looking for sound bites that appear to intimidate the jury. So we're asking everyone as they come to know that we're coming to grieve together with the family of Ahmaud Arbery. We're not really there to engage the media, and to the extent that we do, our message is the same. We're here as a show of support. We have every right to support and stand with a grieving family and a community during one of the most important trials of the century.
Well, we will certainly be there with our cameras as well. Lee Merritt, we sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It really is incredible to listen to that white attorney, Tammy, make those comments, and specifically singling out black preachers. There are white preachers. There are Jewish rabbis who have been standing with this family, but no. Is black preachers. Don't want the black preachers in court.
You know what, Roland? You are absolutely correct. And this is the same attorney who earlier in the trial, he was talking about during jury selection, he mentioned how there were not enough pretty much uneducated white men on the jury because the jury needed to represent a cross-section of the defendant's peers. And he alluded to some of the arguments that, black people make whenever, we have been faced with all white juries and having these very egregious types of trials against us. And he's trying to flip it, so to speak, to cater his narrative for his white defendant. And he's the attorney, the one that we saw the clip of. That's the attorney for Roddy. And just so everyone understands and remembers, Roddy is the one who recorded the very gruesome murder of Mr. Arbery by Travis McMichael and Gregory McMichael. That's the father and the son. But this is ridiculous, and the attorney should be feeling very embarrassed, because I believe that the judge's response to this motion for a mistrial was extremely proper. The judge has been coming across as fair and impartial, and really has been trying to make sure that the trial is focused on both sides being able to present evidence and the jury being able to absorb that evidence and deliberate and come back with a verdict without any distractions. And I think this lawyer here, based off of the judge's response, the lawyer himself is the distraction at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, Eugene Amakongo, I just want to play for you, again, even more insulting comments that Kevin Gold said as Reverend Jackson sat in the courtroom. Listen to this.
The issue that Ray brought up previously is, how many pastors does the Arbery family have? We had the Reverend Al Sharpton here earlier, last week, And I'm not keeping track, and I think the court has indicated the court doesn't intend to ask anyone to keep track of who was in the gallery. But I don't know who Mr. Jackson, Reverend Jackson, is pastoring here. My understanding is, and I was given names, that the Arbery family have local pastors. They also have attorneys. Mr. Arbery, Marcus, has a team of lawyers to comfort him through these proceedings. Certainly, Ms. Cooper has been amply comforted by her legal counsel. And we are concerned about whether it's conscious or unconscious, the impact of their presence with respect to the jury and with respect to the proceedings in this case. And I guess the next question is, which pastor is next? Is Raphael Warnock going to be the next person appearing this afternoon? We don't know. Your Honor, I would submit, with all respect to the Reverend Jesse Jackson, that this is no different than bringing in police officers or uniformed prison guards in a small town where a young black man has been accused of assaulting a law enforcement officer or corrections officer. As I have noted before, the city of Brunswick is indeed a fishbowl. Your Honor, I understand that the court, maybe I misunderstood the court the other day, but I think the court had indicated it was the court's understanding or assumption that the Arbery family is giving up seats in the public gallery so that these gentlemen may be present. With all due respect, Your Honor, the seats in the public gallery of a courtroom are not like courtside seats at a Lakers game. There are no First Amendment rights in the public gallery of a courtroom. There is no standing of any particular individual to be present in the public gallery of a courtroom. And there is no reason for these prominent icons in the civil rights movement to be here. This is a case that has been postured in.
So here's what's a trip to me, Amakongo. He's whining and complaining. Did you see the white woman who was in front of the Reverend Jackson? Now, you heard Lee Merritt say that the other rows reserved for other family members. That white woman's like, what the hell is this fool doing? You heard the judge also say, your other counsel, they disagree with you. The other guys like, man, if you don't sit your ass down, you about to make this thing worse for us.
It was sad, man. First of all, on a good note, I got to give props. This kind of connects to your last segment, quite honestly, because to see the young people protesting and to see our elders, Reverend Jackson, just shows that, we're in a really good space of where we're going and where we've been. So I wanted to give a shout out as it relates to that. But I feel like this lawyer, sort of like with the Rittenhouse judge, I feel like these guys are angling to be like their next Fox show contributors right now in terms of what they're doing. But I am a little bit concerned, Roland, that his antics are really going to influence this jury. He said, to go to what Tammy was saying earlier, we need more Bubbas, on the jury. And I feel like what he's doing might be successful. And that's the part that kind of scares me, because this judge is not being assertive enough in shutting him down.
Well, here's the deal. He's making the arguments outside the presence of the jury, but what he's also doing with the constant interrupting Eugene, it does have an impact as well. He wants to disrupt the flow of the trial. And what's going to happen on Thursday, you're going to have a show of force, and he's going to be able to say, see, look at all these preachers here. Well, you open that can of worms, deal with it.
Look, mess around, find out. And that's what's going to happen here. Look, the thing is this defense attorney has pretty much let us know that he's a racist above racist, right? And for what it's worth, he's running the conservative talk radio playbook. Demonized Jesse Jackson, demonized Al Sharpton, even brought in Raphael Warnock. I think, look, the next person to probably come comfort this family at the court case should be Senator Warnock. So the thing is this. I think this judge is proper in denying a mistrial. There's been nothing here to warrant a mistrial. If anything, it's been the defense's antics and tactics of trying to break the flow of the trial, trying to break the flow of the information being delivered to the jurors. And so, look, I'm looking forward to seeing the 200 plus pastors show up in force. And let's see what, this, racist defense attorney that is showing his colors every day in his courtroom has to say about that.
Back to Roland Martin unfiltered video in just one moment.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince? Well, who cares? Prime changed everything.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way. Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?